What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs baseball channel. We've got some breaking news. I don't know how big of an acquisition this is for the Cubs, but they are signing Justin Turner. It is certainly a backup plan for the third base position. So we'll talk a little Justin Turner. We'll take a look at what the Cubs have now around the diamond and a little bit more right here on the Cubs baseball channel. So let's get this thing started. Like, subscribe. If you're new here, hey, welcome. We talk Cubs baseball every day. Go Cubs. All right, here we are, guys, and good to see you. Tip of the coffee to you in the morning. Let's talk some Cubs baseball. Justin Turner is reportedly signing with the Cubs. I've seen like 8 people claim credit for it. It seems David Kaplan, the Capster, the Cap Man, might be one of them. Patrick Mooney, our buddy. So he's talking about it. So I don't know who actually broke this, but good work, whoever it was. This is, I don't want to say this is a big deal for the Cubs, but it does give them some insurance for third base. Turner's 40 years old. He played 139 games last year, which tells you that the guy's still got it. I mean, you play 139 games, you're playing a lot of baseball. Was with the Blue Jays and then the Mariners, and he hit 259 on the year, 11 home runs and 55 knocked in. We all remember him as a member of the Dodgers. I mean, he was like one of the great Dodgers. We'll talk a little bit about the playoff history of Turner for the Dodgers, but please like and subscribe and give us a thumbs up as you watch today and get in the comment section. I know a lot of you guys are ready to talk about this. So yeah. Christian's like, hey, he can still hit. That's the thing, about some of these older dudes, like they can still swing the bat. And the Cubs really didn't have a whole lot of options after they didn't get Alex Bregman. And Bregman got 3 years, 120 from the Red Sox. Cubs went 4 years, 120. And there were some other parts of this that made it to where it was pretty close. But he decided to go to Boston. It's a better right-handed hitting park anyway with the Green Monster. Then Matt Shaw, who is a rookie. We don't know what he's going to bring to the table. We think he can play. We hope he can, but we don't know. Has an oblique injury, and then you really feel like you're in big trouble. John Birdie, I mean, is that who you're going to play at third base every day? Gage Workman, guy that's, he's just like Shaw, except he's just not highly ranked as a prospect, So what are you doing? And the answer is you're signing Justin Turner. So, yeah, and Josh says it's a good pickup. I think it's really the only pickup that the Cubs could have. Were they going to go make a trade with the Red Sox for Arenado? No. Tom, the deal is supposedly year $6 million for Turner. So that's it. Now, he's 40. Some of you guys are going 40 years old isn't even that old. Yeah, it is in baseball terms, but let's talk about him as a Dodger. One of the all-time great Dodgers. He was a hero in their playoff runs. You remember him taking on the Cubs. He's always got that beard. He's going to play first and third for the Cubs, probably backup mostly, but a bridge player too for Shaw, and it's insurance if Matt Shaw struggles over at third base, or maybe the oblique doesn't get better. But he's a 2-time All-Star, and he's been in the MVP conversation a few times. I thought this was interesting. I mean, about him being the MVP of the National League Series in 2020, and then the Dodgers went on to win the World Series. In his playoff history, though, he's a 270 hitter, and that's in 86 playoff games. So I would love for him to get a shot to play meaningful baseball for the Cubs this postseason. So the thing that you really like about him is that he finished last year hot. Like for whatever reason, in his final, like 215 plate appearances, he ended up hitting 306. He slashed 306, 394, and and 454. And so it shows you that there's still some juice left in the tank. So I don't know what the Cubs' expectations are, but you figure he can DH, he can play first and third, and he gives the Cubs some experience. I also think that the most important thing now is that there's a bridge for Matt Shaw playing third base, and maybe he'll mentor him. I can remember Turner at third base being pretty good over there for years, and he's got to know that he's deep into his career and that he has an opportunity to teach a young guy like Matt Shaw the ins and outs of baseball every single day. So I'm not sure what the corresponding move will be on the 40-man roster, but those spots are definitely getting thin, right? And there's going to be a lot of competition in spring from some of these guys that signed these minor league deals to make the team as well. It's hard to do that, but you only get 40-man spots, obviously. And, now Turner's going to get one of those as he signs as a free agent. So Josh says insurance and experience is what makes the pickup 100% worth it. Man, I agree. I looked at this when they didn't get Alex Bregman. And I got to tell you that from the beginning, I just didn't feel like they were going to get Bregman. But then there was this part of the journey where I was like, you know what? They're hanging in there so long. It's telling me two things. First off, the Bregman market isn't what we thought it was. Meaning, when he didn't take the reported $156 million from the Astros, and I think it was over 5 or 6 years or whatever, but a very fair deal. And then went out and didn't have that Juan Soto type impact where it was like, hey, man, we got the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees and this team, that team that are all interested. It just didn't feel like there was a whole lot of, of true interest outside of teams that wanted to pay for the shorter term deal for Bregman. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, man, the Cubs are, you get to feel that they're really in it. They really thought they had a chance, and they really did. I mean, it came down to the end, but they didn't want to go with the, they took, I guess, the 4 years, 120 instead of 3, whatever. I don't know what Bregman's going to look like in 2 or 3 years. Plus, you got Shaw. So if you're confident that Shaw is going to be your third baseman, then this makes a lot of sense, right? Not paying the guy 120, save that for some other guy that you're going to pay down the road. Maybe Kyle Tucker. Maybe you put that towards a Kyle Tucker extension. But they must really believe that Shaw's the guy, or they wouldn't have traded Cam Smith, who's a third baseman that they drafted in the first round last year, in the Kyle Tucker deal. So to me, they're either so sure that Matt Shaw is their third baseman of the future, or they made that trade and they traded away Isaac Paredes and Cam Smith, their 2 third basemen, and don't have anybody to play third. So that leads me to believe that if I don't think that's the case, they must really feel that Matt Shaw is the guy. If he is the guy, then having Justin Turner there to help mentor him, I think is a good thing. And I think that'll help. And I think Chuck's kind of saying the same thing, the bottom line on all of these rookies, Chuck and everyone else out there, is that I've spent my lifetime around baseball, and I spent it, watching the way that players are developed in the minor leagues. There was a shift with the Astros. They were the first team, I think, that really kind of did this, where they discounted the process that we used to have for developing players. They all of a sudden, they didn't believe in these guys going up level by level in the minor leagues. They just wanted to throw them all in a camp at the complex and drills and stuff, and then put them in the big leagues, right? They didn't value the process that it took when you would go from rookie ball to A ball, like, high A, double A, triple A. And so what's happened is some guys are fine. I mean, you can put some guys in the big leagues. Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks, a great example, just got in and played well, and that was that. But what we're seeing is that a lot of the players are getting there, and they're getting there too fast because you're pushing guys up through the system faster. And when they get from AAA to the big leagues, they're not ready. They struggle. And it's always been a tough transition. But I used to feel like the biggest jump would be from AA to AAA. And then AAA was really competitive. It was a lot of 4A guys that could play, that were good. But maybe there wasn't a position for them. Maybe they on the day-and-day basis, they weren't good enough. AAA was very good baseball. Now AAA's turned into really what AA used to be. And then when you go up there, you're going to the big leagues and you're making this type of jump. And we saw it with Pete Crow Armstrong. It took really an entire year of him failing before we started to see him succeed. And I think he's a great player. And you guys know that. Hollywood Pete, I love him. So now what we're wondering about Matt Shaw is how that transition is going to be to third base, because he's right now the heir apparent to the third base position. And you'll have Turner as someone that is there to maybe to bridge that, to back him up, to spell him, to maybe even help mentor him. Who knows? And then how fast is that transition is going to be? And I've told you guys this. I think Shaw is a really smart player. I don't know about his size for third base and durability, but he can hit. He can hit for power. He knows the game. And he walks a lot. And I think that's going to help him, because even if he struggles hitting, the thing that Pete didn't have is the ability to take enough walks to really use his speed. So he's more of a hitter. And so he's going to have to hit to get on base. So we'll see how that works out. Get a sip of coffee here. As I take a look at your comments. Now, when you look around when you add Justin Turner to this mix, I think it really adds a lot to the Cubs lineup. And I like the way that this lineup is starting to be constructed now. And I not just the computer simulations, but when you look around the Cubs roster, you start to get the feel that this is a pretty good team. And I'm going to say, is Carson Kelly the starter, or Miguel Amaya the starter at catcher? And I think Carson Kelly gives you a good backup. And I'm guessing that they'll start Miguel Amaya, but we'll find out. Maybe they'll split time. Not a huge Amaya fan, but I did like the way he played at the end of the year. Michael Busch was excellent at first base towards the middle end of the season. And if he can take that next step, which I don't think is unrealistic, when you look at what he did in the minor leagues when he was with the Dodgers, then I definitely feel like the Cubs are good shape there. How Nico Horner is going to come back from his injury and his surgery this offseason. He's already out there playing. Is he going to be ready for opening day? And I don't know the answer to that, but you got Vidal Brujan as kind of the backup to that spot. John Birdie, a bunch of guys in the minor leagues. Nicky Lopez, Gage Workman, if he makes the team, can play second base. Michael Busch can play second. Matt Shaw can play second. So you got a lot of second basemen. Dansby Swanson, to me, and I told you guys this before, he's the most important guy on the team. You're paying him to be your best player. At shortstop, he's got to be your best player. If he hits, this team will make the playoffs. If he hits consistently throughout the year, the Cubs will be a playoff team. And then third base, now with John Birdie as backup, you got Matt Shaw and Justin Turner. So that I don't know that makes third base a strength spot, but adding Turner definitely makes you feel a lot better about that position. And the fact that the guy almost played 140 of 162 games last year in Turner tells me that even though he's 40 years old, doesn't mean that he can't go out there and contribute to the team, right? Ian Happ in left, Pete Crow Armstrong in center. Some people feeling that Kevin Alcantara will make the team and be the backup in center field. We'll see about that. And then Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki in right field. And then Seiya and Ian Happ DHing with Shota, Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon, and Matthew Boyd, and possibly Javier Assad if he's healthy. Colin Ray kind of in that spot as well. Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown. I mean, you got a lot of guys vying for the fifth starter spot. Now, the other question that you guys are going to ask me, and I haven't checked yet, but I'm telling you, you're going to ask me, do the Cubs make a deal for Dylan Cease? I think that if they could get the right deal from the Padres, adding Dylan Cease to the rotation makes the Cubs way more formidable, because you look at the back end of the rotation right now and you're going, okay, I love Javier Assad, but last year it was like third time through the lineup, wasn't great. I don't know much about Matthew Boyd. When he's healthy, he's been pretty good. When he's healthy, I guess is the question there. If you added a Cease in between Shota and Justin Steele, you push everybody back, but you would have a really, really good rotation. I think in the other part of the bullpen are the Cubs set in the bullpen? Does this mean that Ryan Presley and Porter Hodge are your two closers? Julian Merriweather, is he your setup guy? I mean, I think that could be the case. Jack Neely's an interesting dude. He's the guy the Cubs traded Mark Leiter Jr. to get from the Yankees, hard thrower. They felt like some of them in their organization felt like he may be their closer of the future. Didn't do too well when he was in the big leagues last year. That's part of the transition. Like I said before, you're going from AAA to the big leagues now, and it's a big, big jump. Someone like that maybe comes together and gives you a little bit more depth out in the bullpen. But that's kind of where we're sitting on the roster. So I don't think they're done yet. I do think that if they could get a trade, I don't think they want to trade Owen Casey back to the Padres. I think that would be a mistake for them to do it. But I'm sure that San Diego realizes it was a mistake to trade him for Yu Darvish, and would love to have him back. He's a difference maker, and I think he's someone that the Cubs eventually will have out in their outfield for a long time. But if you decide you're going to sign Justin Tucker to a long deal, all these Justins, then maybe you do that. Maybe you make that deal because you feel you get somebody like a prospect back and a starting pitcher. Who knows? All right. Hey, this is good right here. I don't know all the conversation, but I'm guessing we're talking about best third baseman that the Cubs have had. Aramis Ramirez was, I still think, the best third baseman. Remember when the Cubs made the trade to get him, what it meant to the team when he was on there. And I love those Cubs teams. It's a shame that they weren't able to win in the playoffs. But 2007, 2008, those 2 years were some really, really good teams put together by Jim Hendry and his front office. And Aramis was so good at third. Chris Bryant played third base. I always thought he was too big for the position, just body-wise. And I feel like it took years off of his career. If they would have moved Chris to the outfield and him playing, like, say, left field, I don't think he'd have the struggles that he's had staying healthy. I think that it just beat him up as a big guy trying to play third base. Greg brings this up, that Turner doesn't play as much third base as he used to. And that's absolutely true. And I noticed that as well. But this is what the Cubs need him to do, is play third base. It would be so interesting if Turner comes over, but he's unable to play third base. And interesting meaning not good. So he must feel like, and the Cubs must feel like, Turner can still play third, because having him as a backup at first base would not be, would not be a good thing. And here's Austin saying Turner isn't playing third. Yeah, look, he's got to play third, Austin. I mean, like that's why they signed him, because they need a third baseman. They didn't sign him to be a DH. We got Seiya Suzuki And they don't need that. They don't need a backup first baseman. They need a third baseman. So, we'll see. I mean, I know that there's some questions right now. The Penguin, Ron Say, I'll drink some coffee to him. So still saying, you guys don't think that he's going to play third? He has to play third. If he doesn't play third base, then why did you sign him? To be the backup first baseman? I mean, they don't need a backup first baseman. They're teaching, Alexander Canario to play first base. Do other guys will play first base. They got to have somebody that can play third, at least some, and it could be one of those situations where they feel like, it gives them like an extra coach out there. And I've seen that before. But if he doesn't play third base, then this doesn't make any sense. Even though he hasn't played a ton of third base lately, doesn't mean he can't play third base. And if you guys are just tuning in right now, just kind of running through the scenario again, and thank you guys for being here. Love all of you guys. Like and subscribe, thumbs up to the Cubs baseball channel. We've been rocking for over this is going into our third season. Started in the middle of 2 seasons ago, and I've been with the Cubs. I'm Mick Gillespie. I've been with the Cubs for a long time in their organization. Got to broadcast games a lot in spring training, and but I wanted a spot where I could talk about the game the way I want to talk about it, and this kind of have our conversation here. Like we're all sitting Harry Carey style at the bar, and even though instead of a Bud Heavy, I got this right here, coffee. But honest takes. At the end of the day, I want to see the Cubs win every game. I think you guys do too. So like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for being part of what we do here. And Justin Turner signed. Here's kind of running through it again. He's 40 years old. You know him from his days with the Dodgers. He played almost 140 games last year between Toronto and Seattle. Hit 259, which if he was on the Cubs and hit 259, that would have been one of the higher batting averages. Not much power, 11 home runs and 55 knocked in, but enough hitting to and getting on base where you feel pretty good about him. He is a 2-time All-Star, and 3 times he received National League MVP award votes. Very good player at times. And in the playoffs, he's one of the better ones. Hit 270 and had a 370 on base percentage in 86 playoff games. And he was the National League Championship Series MVP in 2020, the year the COVID year when the Dodgers won that shortened season World Series, right? So he's someone, and the beard, kind of what he brings to the table with his personality. He gives the Cubs, I think, another veteran, another guy that comes in with experience winning. And I think that's important too. When you brought the guys in from the Astros, what did we talk about with both of those guys, with Presley and with Tucker? It's like, hey, we got guys here that know what it's like to win. And this is, and you guys can watch the video that I put out today, and we do one every morning. This is a do or die season for this Cubs front office. I've talked about this forever. If the ownership doesn't extend your contract, they're basically telling you that we're either going to win now or we're going in a different direction. And so there has been a sense of urgency from the Cubs front office to try to get deals done, but there's been some limitations. And so, those limitations obviously have been, the willingness to spend a whole lot of money. So they've had to be creative with some of their deals. All right, let's just kind of look at Turner here. He's been in the big league 16 years. Started out in Baltimore in 2009, and then eventually went to the Mets. And then I don't remember him as a Met, but I remember him as a Dodger. And in his career, he's hit 298 home runs, and he's got 814 runs batted in. And he's a 285 lifetime hitter. And he's got a 363 lifetime on base percentage. And his, look, the last time he hit over 300 was 2020. And he's kind of been diminishing since 21. He hit 278, did that again in 22, 23, hit 276. And then, last year he hit 256. You talk about positions wise. And I know some of you guys are saying that you don't think he's going to be capable of playing a whole lot of third base. And as I look at this right now, it's hard to argue that to say the guy's going to play a bunch of third base, because the last time he really played significant time at third base was 2022. And he played 66 games that season at third. And 23 played 7 games, and then last year he played 6 games at third. So yeah, I mean, like, you do feel like it's kind of going on this direction when it comes to third base, but the Cubs signed him to have to play some third. I mean, there's no other way that you would make this deal with where the roster is right now and not expect him to play third base. So the other problem, was there wasn't a whole lot of other options out there. I mean, like, you got Justin Turner, you got Nolan Arenado, but you're not going to make a trade with the Cardinals, and you didn't get Alex Bregman. So you have your in-house options, and then you have your, obviously your the free agent signing. So, Jay, this is a good one too. Cubs did sign Chris Flexen, who was 3-15 last year, to a minor league deal, and he did get rocked a lot. He's got like just under a 6 ERA in his career, but he got signed to a minor league deal, so he's going to have to make the team out of spring training to get a shot on the roster. So, so that's it now. And the other thing is that Aramis can't still play, or we might have to sign him. Robert, not real happy with the signing. I just feel like, look, here's, and I'm going to get to your comment, Craig, here in a second. Here's what the issue is for the Cubs, going all the way back to the beginning of this, is that Matt Shaw, we don't know if Matt Shaw is ready or not. And then to top it off, he's got an oblique injury. So all of these days where he should be just playing third base, getting used to the position, trying to contend for that spot, trying to look like he's the guy, he can't because he's hurt. So now we got to wait on him to get better. And you wonder if this is going to be one of those lingering issues, or is he going to bounce right back? Then you didn't get Alex Bregman, and you traded away your third baseman in Paredes, and you traded away your future third baseman in Cam Smith. So Cam Smith was drafted in the first round, played for third base in college, was a third baseman, power hitting third baseman. Watched him play defensively, had some work to do. He wasn't going to be ready this year, but he is going to be the third baseman of the Astros one day. So then you say, well, what about BJ Murray? BJ Murray, switch hitting minor league third baseman. Last year, dealt with some injuries, was in AAA, then went back to AA, with AA at the end of the season, was on the AA playoff roster and didn't even get in the game. 2 years ago, he was the playoff MVP for the Smokies. I'm not sure what happened when Murray got to AAA, but his numbers really tapered off. And I just don't think that they feel like he's ready for a real shot at the third base job. Now, he's a guy that could come into spring training. He's going to play a lot of spring training. You see him in the games a lot. He could definitely catch their eye. The other crazy move to me is, why in the hell, and I said it, would you take Luis Vazquez off your 40-man roster when he's one of your best defensive infielders? Could have put him at third base. I don't know how he would have hit in the big leagues, but he started to hit kind of going up every level if you didn't really have a lot of depth in that spot. And they took him off when they got John Birdie, kind of a journeyman. So now Baltimore snacked him up, and he could be one of those guys that we look back at and go, okay, what happened there? But for some reason that they didn't like him, they didn't think he could hit. Who knows? I watched him. I think he's a Gold Glove caliber shortstop, and I've seen him play third base, and he can do that too. So they don't have that option. But that would have been, to me, a better option than B.J. Murray right now, even though I really like B.J. Out of the minor leagues. What's up, Tom? Good to see you, man. Turner is the replacement on the roster for Wisdom. How many of you guys would have rather had Patrick Wisdom? Anybody? Any Patrick Wisdom fans out there? Because that's that to me is someone that the Cubs had last year that we kind of looked around a lot and said, hey, why do we have Patrick Wisdom on this roster when he can't play defense and he strikes out all the time? I think, Tom, you're one of those guys. Adam says Turner isn't here to play third. He's here to play first against some lefties. Well, and look, if Shaw becomes the everyday third baseman, Adam, that could easily be the case. That I could see that being the case, because I'm sure in a perfect world, you're not putting a 40-year-old guy at third base. But what I'm telling you is that the Cubs don't have other options where he can't play third. If he can go out there and play third, at least get him through the beginning of the season playing third, they're going to do that. So Mr. Cub says Craig Counsell is known for getting people the league doesn't believe in and making something out of them. Yeah. I like Craig Counsell, and I'm going to tell you this right now. And I've said this before on the channel. And guys, if you're hanging out with us here live, please like and subscribe to be a part of the Cubs baseball channel. And thank you for being here. And if you're like Tom and Tony and some of our regulars, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys every day. I love you. Thank you for making our channel. We had over 1 million views last year, so it's because of you guys, and I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. The thing that I really like about Craig Counsell isn't necessarily the managing on the field, and I think he's pretty good at that. It's the stuff that he knows through the organization, the detail that he spends knowing the Cubs system, the coaches, the scouts, that he wants to be involved in the day-to-day running, almost like an assistant GM type guy. And I think that he could be a GM if he ever got out of managing and a front office guy, and you see guys do that, like Bobby Cox and Dallas Green and stuff. These guys get out of it and then they go to the front office. And they're good there. So, hopefully that's the case here, because, signing Justin Turner would be, it would be great if we could get something out of him. This is bad. We'll be lucky if we win 89 games. If we win 89 games, I think we probably, I'd say right today, I'd tell you before the season started, 89 games gets us into the playoffs as a wild card team. Maybe we slip in as a division winner. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be any good. I think that that the Pirates will be better. I think the Reds will be better. I think the Brewers will be worse. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Randy says this is a good move. And the fact that it's a 1-year deal, $6 million. You're not even spending that much. But guys, again, Justin Turner signs with the Cubs, the longtime Dodger playoff hero, and gives the Cubs a little flexibility. We talked about him being someone that's going to play third base. I feel like that's got to be part of the plan. But he hasn't played a whole lot of third base over the last couple of seasons. So you wonder if they get him out to camp in Mesa and they just start playing him over at third just to see, what that looks like. And the other thing you got to remember too is that we've got opening day coming in Japan. And so, you got another couple weeks and it's going to be baseball time. Well, a month. We got a month to get ready. Feels like we're going to be playing games out there soon enough. But that's going to be such a great event for the game. I'm excited for Seiya Suzuki, who has been nothing but a consummate team player, and Shota Imanaga, who was just so much fun to watch last year, to get back to their home country where baseball is still just a huge, huge game, and to play in front of their fans, in front of the Dodgers. I mean, think if the Cubs beat the Dodgers with Yamamoto and Sasaki and of course Ohtani, it'd be really something. Kevin says, I'm high on the Reds right now. Good manager, and that rotation wasn't healthy last year. I'm with you, man. I mean, I look at Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green at the top of your rotation, and and you got a bunch of players that can play. It was surprising that they didn't do better last year. But it just feels like the Reds are one of those teams that find a way not to win at the end. Like they'll get hot, they'll be really good, and then you'll see them and they'll lose a bunch of games and be out of it so fast. Alex, great question. Mick, who do you think they'll go for next? Last move to round up the roster. I think that when I look at this team, I still feel like there's some soft spots, right? Even with Turner signed, does this make does this make the infield really good? At third base, I mean, we don't know what Matt Shaw is going to do. And it seems like in baseball, every time you have a question mark, you always get the wrong answer. Like you don't go into the season with a bunch of question marks and win. The years that the Cubs have been good, we went into the season knowing that the Cubs were good, right? 2016, we remember 2015. 2015 was surprising, but we did have Joe Madden and John Lester, and we had a lot of momentum, and you could feel, these young guys coming. And but going back to 2007 and 8, you had a good team. You look Derek Lee and Ramos Ramirez and Soriano, and then you go back to like 2003, and you got Pryor and Wood, and you look at that team, and you're like, man, I mean, what was it, 98? Sammy Sosa. I mean, you knew you had good teams. And you would look around the diamond and say, hey, there wasn't a lot of question marks, right? So I look at this team and I'm like, there's less question marks. And that's why when we did that drill, we're going around the diamond. But to me, the back end of the rotation is okay. If you're going to make moves to make this roster better, I think you got to make big moves. You got to make bold moves. And that's what Jed Hoyer's tried to do with the restrictions that he's under. But if the Padres were really willing to give up Dylan Cease, which it's kind of starting to look like maybe they don't want to do that, because they can contend with the Dodgers with their rotation the way that it is right now. You take Cease out of it, their rotation's not going to be as good. But how business-wise, how much sense does that make? And who do you get back in that deal? And and all that kind of stuff, right? If you're AJ Preller. So getting to your question, I think that if you could get somebody to slot in between Shota and Justin Steele as kind of your second, like a right-handed ace, that would be a good move. And then if you got a closer. But how willing are teams going to be to make trades once you kind of get past where we're at right now? Pitchers and catchers are out there. They're doing their thing, right? And then the start of spring training. And is there someone out there that you can sign? I don't know. So this was a deal that we've talked about here possibly happening, signing Turner, and they did. The rest of the impact deals are going to take two parties to get done. And they might sign somebody, but I think unless the right position comes, right, unless the right deal comes that they feel good about, and a team's willing to give up an ace, I don't know. I mean, I could see them making some small moves, but look, anything can change too. I mean, you get closer and closer to opening day, and and teams are looking around and they're looking at their roster, and then they're looking at, hey, look, this guy could probably do this. He's a lot cheaper. We can trade this guy away right now and get value. That could happen. David says getting Turner is turning me cautiously optimistic to confident about this team. Turner finished the season last year on a heater. And what you hope is that he's one of these guys that finds it, just, and we've seen it before. It's not like it's rare, but it's not like a guy couldn't come in at 40 years old and make an impact. You're going to have to give them more days off. You don't want to overuse a guy like Turner, but at the same time, you love to have that guy that you can put in there and has that experience. But going back to the whole thing, if he can't help you out at third base, then I'm not sure. Then my opinion of this deal is definitely, is definitely not as good as it is if he can play third base. And, we'll see. Maybe he hadn't played third because they hadn't needed him to on the teams he was on. Stole it breezing. Who's the fifth starter on this team? Assad or Ray? Why not Ben Brown? Assad is another one of these guys dealing with an injury. So that means Colin Ray is probably the guy right now, but we'll see what happens in spring. Ben Brown coming back from the neck. Don't forget about Jordan Wicks. When he's been healthy, he's been really solid as a starter for you. And then Cade Horton, someone that could eventually take that job. Cody Poteet, Cubs got him when they sold Bellinger to the Yankees. Those guys are all in the mix for the fifth starter job. But which one of those guys will end up being the fifth starter? I would say right now, if I'm handicapping it, that it's going to be Ray. Just because, when you're dealing with injuries, and I know that we haven't even gotten into the games yet, but when you're dealing with injuries at the beginning of camp, you're going to be behind. Everybody else is going to be, stretched out. You're going to be just trying to get there. And so, we'll see. Gary Gaetti 2.0. You guys remember Gary Gaetti, young Cubs fans? He was star of the Twins, World Series champ. And the Cubs got him, and he was a little bit past his prime, but we still liked Gary Gaetti. Adam says he'd take him. Love this talk right here. Kevin says Cubs lefty pen depth is an issue. You got Hughes, who's a Cubs minor leaguer, is back, non-roster invitee. Thielbar, Luke Little, who's having shoulder injury issues. So I love Luke Little's family. They actually came and saw me this year. So good people. I hope that he gets it back together. And then the other guy that they had on the roster was Rob Zastrisny, which look, I like Rob Zastrisny, but I mean, even, you look at his numbers. I mean, he's all right. I mean, like them taking him off the 40-man wasn't alarming like Luis Vazquez to me. I thought it was going to happen. And he signed with the Yankees. Nobody picked him up and put him on their 40-man. But then when it came time to make the deal for him to stay around, the Yankees, either gave him more money or more reassurances than the Cubs, or he just wanted to go there, but ended up signing with the Yankees. That could be another move that we see, as you guys were asking before, what could the Cubs possibly do? Well, they could watch other teams and say, hey, there could be some lefties that they feel good about on other rosters that could end up not having a roster spot and end up getting, DFA'd or possibly make a trade for another lefty. And I'm sure the Cubs will probably be on the lookout for that, as well. But yeah, it always feels like the Cubs are lacking left-handed pitching, and I don't know why that is, but Riley Martin as a non-roster invitee. I wonder if anybody else here knows Riley Martin. I do. Yeah, he's a fun guy. He's a minor leaguer for the Cubs. Got really good stuff. interesting personality. Someone that if he ever like really became a good pitcher for the Cubs, like the bleacher creatures would love him. I mean, like he's he's a they're the bleacher bums. Yeah, those guys do. He's just a really interesting left-handed pitcher. I don't know what his what he's going to look like in spring training, but I like him. I think there's definitely a possibility there. Tony's talking about the purpose of the show today, which is that the Cubs signed Justin Turner. I said he hated him because he always crushed the ball against the Cubs. That may be why they signed him. They're probably like, man, this guy with the beard, we can't get him out. You know what? I hope that stays the case. What I'm looking at right now is now the next thing is going to be what Turner's doing in the spring training games, and we'll be keeping an eye on that. What's he doing? Where is he playing? Are they playing him at third, or is he playing first base and DHing? And if the Cubs got him to play first base and DH, then I don't understand this signing. He's got to be able to help you at third base with Matt Shaw and some of these other guys, or this was a complete waste. And just because he hasn't played a lot of third in the last few years doesn't mean that he can't play third. It just means that he hasn't. But if he shows up and he's got problems playing third, he doesn't have the arm to get it to first base anymore, or whatever. You don't have to have a lot of range to play third base. I mean, it helps, but the ball gets on you so fast that you get over there and it's going to come to you. And we found out with Christopher Morel last year that it will find you. The ball will find you if you can't catch it. So anyway, well, look, guys, thanks for coming and hanging out today. Again, like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all of you guys for being a part of what we do here. Justin Turner joining the Cubs. There will be a 40-man roster move that will correspond with that. We'll get you updated on that. We put a new show out every day. If this is the first time you've been to the channel, like and subscribe. Please subscribe. Be a part of what we're doing. Thumbs up. And go Cubs. Really interesting. And stay in the comments section. We'll talk to you soon.